Hey, what's up guys? I'm back today with a quick tip regarding black and white conversions because I feel like I answer this question a lot because it's simple, but for some reason people overlook this. And I just want to show you because it can give you some different dimension and flexibility in your black and white conversions. So a lot of times people will go to hue saturation layer and desaturate, and there's your black and white. And you know what? That's passable. It works. It works. However, I'm going to challenge you to not do that. And you might even be thinking, I know where you're going, Nino. Black and white adjustment layer is what we need. Then we can adjust the different actual colors in terms of the luminosity of the colors. And that is so powerful. It's an amazing tool. Absolutely recommend that you play around with the black and white adjustment layer. You can do so much there. But you know, you can actually do even more. Because see, once the black and white layer is on the layer stack, or even the desaturation layer, if that's what you want, you can put things underneath it and still do things. Sounds pretty obvious, right? So for example, if you put a curves, you might think, oh, well, okay, I can darken and lighten. Yes, but you can also go to the red, green, and blue channels and change things there. And when you start changing things in the channels, you get some unpredictable results, or rather unexpected results. And I challenge you to come in here into this area and play with this. You never know how you can craft your black and whites, your monochrome conversions, when you start messing with these channels. Now, if you turn off the black and white layer, you've done a disaster here, but you're changing the way that layer responds to everything that you're sending into it. Like we talked about many times, the layer order makes a big difference. You can do stuff after the black and white layer as well. You can set levels if you want to do some contrast changing, whatever, but underneath it with curves. And you can even do it with levels. So you can come to levels and choose reds, change the mid-tones around. It seems like I'm just brightening and darkening, but once you start playing with this concept, you'll see that it's not exactly brightening and darkening. It's kind of cool. See how I got that cool shaping onto her face now that it didn't have a second ago, right? So with just the black and white conversion, we have that. With these other layers, we start changing the shape around. We may or may not like this, but we start changing the shape around. Now you might actually even know that, but have you ever considered underneath your black and white layer, adding a channel mixer? Oops, that's a color. Look up one moment. Have you ever considered adding a channel mixer? Because here, changes can be radically different. So I'm going to go to the blue. Let's say blue. I'm going to reduce that. It's pretty obvious. We're reducing the blues. That's fine. But once you start playing around with the channel mixer, you can start creating some very interesting looks because now you're really changing the way the RGB channels are falling. And as soon as you start playing and getting an idea of what's possible, it's not the most intuitive thing initially, but once you start playing around enough with it, you're going to start creating some really cool looks from normal to this. Suddenly now her top is very bright. The shadows are very soft, but still the point is almost to like challenge yourself to do something that you may not normally do by using a tool you don't expect. See, from that to that. So add a channel mixer underneath black and white conversion layer. Add a curves and use the RGB channels, and the levels and use RGB channels. There's so many ways you can play around with this. You could even technically put a hue and saturation layer. Oh, let's use a color balance. And then when you play with it, you get slightly different variations on things because you're changing colors underneath, but you're not just shifting more or less luminosity of each color. You're shifting the colors around. Let's go initially to that hue and saturation. Because if I go to reds, and I slide the hue around, it responds very differently. See that? Very differently. And if I go to yellows, the same thing. Responds very differently. So the more layers you can add underneath a black and white layer, chaos, the more layers you can add underneath that modify colors, either independently or the channels themselves, you can get some unexpected results and find something unique in your black and white conversion. And what's cool is that if you have an entire set, it's no big deal because you can just once you get the look that you like this, for example, maybe something like, I don't know, like that, then you can take these two layers and apply them to the rest of the set too. So just consider that. Once the black and white layer is on, yeah, you can change contrast and things above it. But what you do below it, it can still create some really interesting things. And the more you explore, the more possibilities you'll find. Trust me. So don't accept just a desaturation. Sometimes when you feel like a black and white conversion is looking really boring to you and you're like, well, it's black and white. I guess it's art. Well, consider not just the black and white layer. You can use desaturation if you want, but put things underneath it and modify those colors directly and watch the shaping and dynamics of your black and white conversion processes really change. you.